Eurosport Live.
To be dropping down on this occasion because they've got some tough stuff today on this stage 9 of the Tour de France. You can see here the speed at which these riders are dropping off this mountain at something around about 40 miles an hour. This is a little group off the front of the head here. Armstrong's now detached himself from the main group that came at the top of that climb. I'll put you in the picture in just a moment as to who's doing what. We are in fact just dropping off the Col de Sèze. The top of that climb was just after 73 kilometres had been covered. A quick look there at another little group back 1 minute 20 seconds back to the peloton as such, and Armstrong has really launched an attack, having gone over the top of that climb, the Col de Sèze, the first category climb, in 8th place, just behind Indurain. And on this descent here, I can tell you it's very tricky indeed, as are many of the descents today, and we've got some cracking big climbs as well for them to go on. This Col de Sèze, which they're dropping off now with Armstrong here going flat out, was 1,650 metres above sea level. It was the 4th climb of the day. We've still got another first category climb yet to come up the Comet de Roseland, and then the finish at La Plagne is up what we call an all-category climb. 73 kilometres to go, confirmed on your screen now, as the riders here up in front. The early breakaway, we've got to look at him here, the rider from the Kelme team in the green, Munoz. He set the whole race alight at the other side, but here Bo Hamburger together with Zuller have caught up with him on the climb, and the last time check we had of these leaders here was that they'd gone on up the climb. The gap was 32 seconds back to Munoz. Well, now he's been caught. In fact, Pelliccioli was 57 seconds back to Peloton at 1 minute and 5 seconds. That was on the way up the climb. We're waiting for confirmation of the gap. It says here still in fact 1 minute 10 back to Armstrong, where Armstrong has now got away from Indurain. Look at Zuller up in front, descending with Bo Hamburger, and the little fellow here from the Kelme team having doubly hanging on to him. And here is the peloton stringing down, and we'll have to wait and see if Armstrong is persisting with his break off the front. You see the Benestos are beginning to pile on the front there with the yellow jersey of Miguel Indurain, sat in 1, 2, 3, 4th from the front. And look at those great wad of Benesto jerseys round about him. They're certainly going to keep their man in contention, because today is a day when that overall classification, he only leads by 23 seconds back to Bjorn Ries, the Gewiss rider, is in 2nd spot behind Indurain, and he's quite a strong, useful climber. Ries is having an excellent tour, probably the best one he's ever had. I know he's won stages last year and the year before and finished 5th overall a couple of years ago, but his power that we saw in the time trial on Sunday means he's going to be a force to reckon with. He can climb, he's a bit of a slogger, rather like Indurain, not one of these nice little mountain goats by any means, but he gets up them, and we'll have to wait and see if he can attack that yellow jersey. Berzin this morning, who is an extremely good climber, also on the Gewiss team, start out 2 minutes and 20 seconds down on Indurain, and Brunel 2 minutes and 30 seconds in arrears. The best man in this little group here on general classification, Zuller, is 4 minutes 29 seconds down on the yellow jersey, and desperately today trying to grab back some of that time on the Spaniard, who did again quite a useful time trial, and it was rather surprising that he didn't knock another between half minute and a minute out of some of the other riders. It was generally accepted that he would be under threat if the gap was only like about 2.5 minutes back to him, and certainly with Berzin 2:20 back, Brunel 2:30 back, Romigo 2:32 back, and here we've got Armstrong now just 30 seconds and the peloton 1:40. So the peloton is 1 minute and 10 seconds down on Armstrong, who's launched a tremendous attempt today. Lance is fairly well down the classification. I'll have to have a bit of a look here, because he lost a lot of time the other day. He had a crash and lost about 2.5 minutes, and then he's been struggling a bit since then, but I think his whole objective now is to get a stage victory, and if he gets up there with Zuller, who knows this part of the world very well indeed, being about 12:24 down is his time on the general classification at the moment for Lance Armstrong. He lies 37th overall, 12:24, so he's no great threat as far as Indurain is concerned, but certainly if he gets up with Zuller and Hamburger and being aided with by Munoz on the climbs, then I think there's a fair chance we might well see a stage victory staying with this man. We've got a long way to go though. You saw on the screen something like about 73 kilometres when we last flashed the old message up there, so we've still got probably about 70 20 kilometres to go inside the last 50 miles, and Armstrong here trying to stay away from that main pack, and he's closing down the gap here on Zuller, who is looking very, very strong indeed. Zuller in the pink jersey, he's going to have to really ride some, that 4:29 down Indurain, but it means that Benestos are going to chase it. This could be good tactic from Onsay, because they've got Brunel in 4th spot overall, 2 minutes 30 seconds down on Indurain. Jalabert for Onsay is 2 minutes and 47 seconds down on Indurain in 6th spot. Mauri Mokabari, who's a cracking climber as well, he's in 7th spot, 2 minutes 48 seconds down, and here Zuller in 9th spot, 4:29, and Eric Breukink is in 10th spot at 5:11 down. So you see the Onsay team have got no less than 5 men in the top 10 places, and those 5 men are within 5 minutes of Indurain. So it certainly is, if we're going towards Beaufort now, it's certainly that the Onsay team can really play several cards in the way to disrupt the rhythm of Miguel Indurain and make him chase and keep an eye on everybody. This is the feeding station, as you can see, all the bags being out here, and not far from this feeding station, well, just as you go out through the other side of Beaufort, I came through quite slowly, but they've got those sleeping policemen on the road. We'll probably see them red and white. It looks like a zebra crossing in red and white. So you don't get zebras in red and white. It was red and white and striped. Some people's pyjamas, I suppose. Anyway, there's a red and white sleeping policeman that I thought was a bit of a zebra crossing, and went over it, and with a loud bang, the front end of the rover dropped down and gouged the other side of the road. I was only going quite slowly. I thought at the time that I'd ripped the spoiler off the front, but in fact on the road there was a bit of a sort of a bracket at the front. I don't know whether it's for towing or whether they're using an assembly or what, but that had gouged a big hole in the road. So those riders are going to hit that one as well, as will most of the cars. So even if you're going at around about 10 miles an hour, it's a nasty little bump, and let's hope everybody in the race goes over it quite comfortably and don't smash bits off their motor car. It's one of the worst sleeping policemen I've ever seen in my life, and I've driven over a few in my time, but of course I'm talking about the lumps in the road, not the sort that are on the side of the road. The gendarmes out there, they marshal every little turn, every little farm track, where there's something to get out onto the road. They put the policemen out, the gendarmes ahead. They get great big coaches and they load them up with the police. When they drop them off, they get a little slip of paper with their instructions on it, because every position is marked, every position is noted, every bit of instruction is there, so the policeman knows exactly what he's got to do. And of course the big thing is nothing comes out on the road. There you see one waving the yellow flag. He's one of our motorcycle policemen, travels with the race. They also again are instructed where to go, to wave the flags to warn the riders of the obstruction. Imagine the whole organisation that goes in to checking everything, making a note of it, so you're then passing it down to the right pit of the authority. And that's why this Tour de France is such an immense operation. I mean, it's been going since 1903, and you couldn't just say, well, we'll run a big tour like this one tomorrow and go 3 weeks around France. It's been built up bit by bit over the years, and the experience of the organisation comes in all the months of planning that goes on. I mean, we've already got the 1995 Tour de France we know is going to start in Holland. We know roughly where the first couple of stages are as well. And already they know most of the route for next year, and they're even planning into 96 and into 97 as well. So it's a great long planning job as far as the Tour is concerned. Here we are, back up with our leaders, and they're out of Beaufort. They're on the climb now of the Col de Roseland. They've got 20 kilometres of climbing ahead of them.
Eurosport Live.
These two riders, having caught up with the Calmi rider Munoz and gone straight past him, are now leading some 2 minutes ahead of the main peloton. And coming up fast is Armstrong, 30 seconds behind these two. Zuller in the pink jersey here. Saints, the team manager of Onsay, is passing up the instructions to the man in the pink. And just sitting in there, the rider from the TVM team, Bo Hamburg, a winner of a stage last year in the Tour de France. In fact, I'll say the story again if you didn't get it last year, that the young lad Bo Hamburger there. His parents came down to see the Tour de France, and they were travelling down on this particular stage. And when they got to the finish, they just asked some people they met on the side of the road and said, you know, how did it go today? We're Hamburger's parents. They said, oh, he won today. I said, no, you're pulling our leg. And he had. They thought they were playing a joke on them, but they weren't, and he got the stage, and so they had quite a bit of a celebration, I'm sure, that night. TVM, having had a stage success already with Blylelands and an extremely good third place from Jeskes Gibby a couple of days ago, have had quite a useful tour so far. And this young rider, Hamburger, is sitting on Zulla's wheel, not doing anything to aid the escape, so I don't think Zulla will be too happy with that one. But Zulla's a very strong, wiry rider, and I think he's just decided to get stuck in here and open up as big a gap as he can on the yellow jersey. He started this morning at 4 minutes 29 seconds down on Indurain, so he's now grabbed back 2 minutes of that. The gap has been cut now to 2:29, which puts him up in the top 3 or 4 on general classification instead of being back there in ninth spot. So the field now, as they're coming up to try and catch up with that little lot, let me just put you in the picture on the overall situation, and I'm just trying to sort out some headphones. Yes, they're there, Stephen. We lost Stephen's headphones. We've got them all fixed up now. The general position as they're climbing here on this climb up toward the top of the Come de Roseland, which is a 20-kilometre climb in all. The position that we've had so far since we started out this morning. Let me put you in the picture as we're now looking at Zulla, who's on his own, up there at the moment with Hamburger, and on his own is Armstrong some 30 seconds back of the main group at 2 minutes. The position this morning was that we're going to take in 6 climbs, 1 fourth category climb, 1 third category, and 1 second category climb, and then 2 first category climb, and we're going to finish with what they call the all category, the unbelievable, the absolute all-searing, all-singing, dancing mountain of La Plagne. And we're sitting up here, we can see the snow all round about us on the tops of the Alps, and the snow's been melting, cascading down the rivers, which we may see some of them later on in the race today. But the climbs then, the first of them we had at the Col de Marie. Veronk it was that took the first one. That was after 16 kilometres of racing. Romigo was in second spot, Paranzana was in third. When we went over the third category climb at the Col d'Epine, they'd covered 26 kilometres then, and Veronk again was the first man over the top of the climb. Simon was second, Hodge was in third spot. We had a sprint just after that one, just to sort lads out after 33 kilometres. They come together by then because the fourth and third category climb hadn't really split the field. So when they came together, Andrew Japrov sprinted out the pack to take 6 points and 6 seconds bonus. Jalabert was in second spot, so that's moving him up by another 4 seconds on general classification, and Laurent was in third spot. The next climb of the day, the Col d'Ery, this one Brochard was taken by Brochard. Zberg was second, Royas was third, Veronk was fourth, and Bolts was in fifth place. That was a second category climb. They covered 51 kilometres by them, and then just as we came on air, the big first category climb of the Col d'Essais, where Munoz took that one ahead of Zulla. Hamburg was third, Veronk fourth, Dufaux fifth, Miranda sixth, Indurain seventh, Armstrong was in eighth spot right behind Indurain, Aparicio was ninth, Rui was 10th, and Rojas was 11th. And now they've dropped down and they're heading up toward the top of the Come de Roseland, where they've got a 20-kilometre climb. That's 12.5 miles of climbing, and then they drop down the other side of that one into the Bourg Saint-Maurice, along a fairly flat, fast bit of road towards Amy, where we then turn and climb the final hill up, or mountain up to La Plagne, 1,980 metres above sea level. That's the situation today. Stephen Roche, I'm just reading over the shoulder here because I brought with me a cutting from Velo, Steve, which says Roche's Great Avalanche Drama. I've looked round here after the troubles you had on the Tour of Italy when the race went through and they had that avalanche. Fortunately, looking around here, it doesn't look like we're going to get the snow down us now. It seems to have cleared mostly, thank goodness. That was a bit exciting for you.
It was. It's something you don't want to live too often in a lifetime, because even once in a lifetime is even too much, so it is, because you can see this on television. When you see there's a film on television, Avalanche 94, whatever you call it, or Avalanche 84, whatever it might have been, you think it only happens on television, but actually this happened in real life. And I can tell you that day I got a fight in my life. But today, what you were saying, Dave, it's now a month and a half later, so there's no snow around, so there's no risk at all of avalanche today.
Well, the weather is ideal, I think, for cycle racing, and Armstrong has suddenly decided that he's going to put the hammer down today. Many of the riders who went out training soft riding yesterday after the time trial have now got to look to get some stage success, and this seems to be, I won't say exactly, Stephen, a suicide mission, but I just thought Armstrong would have kept his powder dry a bit longer. I mean, a break like this to try and catch Zilla and Hamburger at this particular stage of the race, it's certainly a valiant effort on his part.
It is, but Armstrong is learning. Like he's not actually going. It would be very unreasonable of himself to be going for the general classification in this Tour de France, because he's so young as yet. He doesn't know where he is in the mountains. He's made a little bit of progress in time trials, but he's still a long way from being a great Tour rider. So every time he goes to the front, every time he attacks, every time he gets a hammering, he's learning, and of course he's kind of investing for tomorrow. So the fact that he's going after Zule today now, I think it's a great thing on his behalf, because some riders who are supposed to be hopeful for Tour victory in the years to come sit in the bunch and wait for Indurain to kind of move and then follow Indurain where it's all so easy. Whereas I feel that you're better off going after the victory yourself, and someday it pays off. Any efforts that he's doing today will of course pay off later on.
And the man who's making quite a good effort here at the front is Zilla. Disappointed with his second place in the Tour of Switzerland this year, when we all thought he was going to win it, until Tonkov snaffled the victory off him with a couple of days to go. That's Munoz in the Calmi colours. He's the one who first started the action as I headed towards the Col de Sade. He was on the climb up there after about some 65 kilometres had been taken in today's race stage, that he went away on his own. Zilla followed him over the top of the climb with Hamburger, and then on the way down Armstrong launched his attack and is now closing up quickly. He's collected Munoz, but this is the main packer there. The Benestos doing a sterling job. I was saying earlier on, Stephen, that really ONCE have got so many cars to play, haven't they? They've got Brunel in 4th spot, they've got Jalabert in 6th, they've got Malkamari in 7th, Zilla in 9th, and Broeking in 10th spot. I mean, the cars that Sage have got to play are tremendous, aren't they?
Yeah, they're 4 men in the first 10 and 5 in the first 12. So when you count the Indurain is in there for Benesto, and you have 4 reasonably good riders behind. I wouldn't say capable Tour winners, but certainly capable of giving Miguel a run for his money if to get any kind of a gap on him today. When you have Berzin, you have Rees, and you have Coty in there. It makes the Tour de France much more open, and we hope now today and tomorrow, definitely over the next 3 days, today and the next 2 days, that we're going to see fireworks. You see Berzin there riding his light mountain bike today. I spoke with Behind this morning, and they are riding a bike with actually 8.75 kilos in weight. It's a mixture of titanium and aluminium, and he's riding with his very unusual 40 chain ring with 23 behind. Like normally riders today, most of them ride 39 or 41 or 42, whereas I found it very, very strange that they're using a 40 now. Like Capucci is using a 41, using a 41 23, and Baltani is using a 39 22. So they're having a big difference between all the riders.
Ronk, the mountain climber, who's taken the climbs over the Col de Mares and Col de Lépine, is lying on general classification 28th spot, 10 minutes 17 seconds down. A quick look at Zilla, away there on his own, 9th overall, 4 minutes and 29 seconds down on the general classification. We've been going down the top 10 here with the riders from the Benesto team. There's Berzin, there's Tony Romigo. Tony, it doesn't, well, what's his health and temper like? Have you any information?
Well, I spoke to his wife Bridget last night, and she was saying that Tony now has got the morale again. He was taking some antibiotics, where he stopped the antibiotics now 3 days ago because he took on an infection. And his result in the time trial the other day, she felt that his morale had come back, and now he was looking for more so looking forward now to attacking the mountains. Although he didn't know how to situate himself coming into the mountains, but he felt very confident that being so not as far. You could last year he was about 2:28 behind Indurain going to the mountains. This year he's 2:24. Dave, am I right? Or it's only 4 or 5 seconds between last year and this year. So he reckons that last year he came into the Tour in better form. But this year he's gone into the form now, not as good as he was last year, definitely not as good as he was in the Giro, but he feels now over the next few days he's going to come around.
And here we are, Zilla at the front. see just holding on to the tops of those bars, getting plenty of oxygen down inside his lungs, as Zuller setting an extremely hot pace at the front at the moment. There's actually quite a bit of a crosswind coming at the riders on this stage here, and it's not going to be all that easy, particularly when they get down towards Amy before we turn up into La Plagne. It's been a very zigzag course today for the Tour de France, and we're going over roads that are well known to my co-commentator Stephen Roach, because when he won the race in 1987, I was just going back to the, let's wait till I talk to see about La Plagne when he came over in 1987, just for you people at home can see what I've been talking about already. The climbs Veronc then, and then they went over the Hairpin, and then we should show, that's 26.5 kilometres. You'd like to see the next climb up on your screen in just a moment. There we are, that's the, they're just 51 kilometres from the start. Rochardtsburg and Reyes, and then as we came to the next big climb of the day at the Col de Sey, this is where it all happened. Munoz went up on that climb ahead. Zuller was rapidly coming up to him with Hamburger, and went over the top. It was on the way down that Armstrong rocketed off. So his confirmation then of the points at the moment. Veronc, look at that, absolute hatful at 71 points. But look how quickly it's changing. Caspian was picking his points up on the third and fourth category climbs. Suddenly Zuller has jumped up there. He's got 32 points, and we've got this next big climb ahead of them as they will go over the Comte de Roseland. Again, the first category climb, and then La Plagne. Looking at on the left, oh, it's just moved off the screen there. Mahia from the motor team, the fellow with the white hat on there, that's Burrs in the midst of this little pack at the moment. And look, oh, he's got shot off. He's one by one these Bonestos have been working hard at the front. There's Jalabert in the green jersey, nice climbing with the Onsis all sitting round about him.
Very comfortable. This is what the Onsis would have wanted. They would have wanted the Bonesto riders to ride hard on the front for as long as they can, and then keep launching men away. But Zulu now is doing an incredible ride now today, with 3 minutes 15 seconds ahead. So he's really going now today. But still some fairly stiff climbs to come, and especially the last climb up here to La Plagne is very long, 17 kilometers in all. So it's a heavy task now that Zulu is undertaking today. But at the same time, if he's caught, they can still launch behind Jalabert. One at Jalabert, who was we've discovered him this year being a climber, time trialist, and a sprinter. So who's to tell? Maybe Jalabert maybe will have a go at launching himself, because the climbs today will suit more Jalabert than he would a real climber.
There, Veronc in the polka dot jersey. He's okay at the moment. The way Zuller's going, this man here has absolutely taken the race by the scruff of the neck. The time now 3 minutes and 15 seconds. He's ahead of the main pack, which includes Indurain. This morning he started out 4:29 down. It may not be long before he becomes virtually yellow jersey leader on the road. This Onse rider here on the climb up the Comte de Roseland. He's been riding now for about 100 kilometres, and he's got a gap of 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Eurosport Live.
The Tour de France has really exploded at the seams today with his attack by the Swiss rider Zuller, and the reaction from Bonesto on this climb up the Comte de Roseland. When they get to the top of the climb of the Comte de Roseland, there will be 110 kilometres covered of the course today, which covers 160 kilometres. Zuller then, top of the climb, he'll have just 50 kilometres left to the finish, but they aren't flat by any means. They're going to drop down to the bottom of the valley and then climb back up again the ore category after that one. The heat beating down on these riders. There, the hairpin bends, which are such a typical part of this neck of the woods. A neck of the woods that is very well known to my co-commentator Stephen Roche, who in 1987 on the stage up into La Plagne collapsed, and the photograph of him lying there with oxygen being given to him. I got it in front of me here from the Winning magazine from way back. In fact, no, it's Inside Cycling, which is part of the Winning magazine group. I think that's an offshoot of it, and he's on the front in yellow, and here he is lying down. Stephen, just tell the viewers back at home what happened on that day on the ride to La Plagne. You must have very great memories of it, either good, bad or indifferent, but you tell us what happened that day.
Well, it's sure today I'm in a better condition than I was then, sitting here with yourself, David. But I'd actually done the very same as Zulu. I was second and third in GC behind Delgado, so I got this opportunity coming over to Col de Galibi to attack him. So I attacked him, went ahead, did 100 kilometres on my own with a small group. But Delgado had caught me down on the foot of the La Plagne. He thought it quite easy to attack me straight away before I'd recover. So he attacked me, went away, and I held him at a minute and a half, and just thought, well, I'll leave him there for the moment and I'll try and get him back later on. So I knew I was good for the last 4 kilometres, so I let him go until held him there at a minute and a half. And when I saw the sign of 4 kilometres to go, I just gave it everything, and I knew Delgado was up there somewhere. I didn't know if I was getting closer to him or whatever, but I knew that once he got a time check, I'd be very close to him. It'd be too late for him to do anything then. So I saw the sign 4 kilometres to go. I just took off and gave it everything I could, and I came to within 4 seconds of Delgado on the line. But everybody was so surprised to see me arriving in so close to Delgado, and I'd given such a great effort to get back there. I just collapsed onto the finish line, and nobody wanted to say, Stephen, can I help you? Everyone was saying, Stephen, where have you come from? So there was no actual oxygen. I just collapsed onto the ground. I was kind of in a semi-coma, semi-conscious state, because I was completely conscious. I could hear everybody, but I couldn't move anything. I was kind of lying there, and but at the same time, that was one of the days of the tour where I didn't lose the tour. There were many days in the Tour de France where you could win the tour, but that was one day definitely I could have lost, and I didn't lose it. So and thanks to that day, and thanks to the way I was able to get the effort together to hold Delgado, went down to win the tour.
Well, that's why Stephen also is pictured on many of the posters all over France at the moment. The cheese company Coeur de Lion, Heart of a Lion, have decided that they'll sponsor him this year. In fact, of course, he's working for Eurosport, and his face is beaming down on us wherever we're driving, and they did that because that was the sort of typical fight you get. But the big thing, Stephen, I know that was tremendous for effort, and in fact, that year I said I didn't think you were going to win the tour, and all my friends in Ireland, when I went back over to the Tour of Ireland, were sort of waking to and say, oh, you got it wrong. But it was a tremendous ride. But when you collapsed then, did you have the same problem which we saw in the time trial a couple of days ago, when the press just come at the rider? I was only thinking in that time trial how that perhaps we ought to have a corral where a rider can get some oxygen, because it just seems that the vultures come honing in with the cameras and the microphones, and how, you just, there's no room for break.
Berzin's on the back.
Berzin's been dropping off.
Yeah.
Now then.
He's dropped off.
It looks like
looking very, very bad, because his teammate with him. So he's
with him,
in a bad way, and he's still a long way from the top of this call.
Oh, that's bad news then for Berzin supporters. He's struggling at the moment.
Yeah, it's very bad news for the Tour even, because Berzin, of course, we had hoped that he would be someone that's going to come along on trouble in Duran in the mountains, but so far in the time trial the other day he didn't show what he said he was going to show. He claimed he's been sick over the last few days, but now maybe yesterday the rest day didn't suit him any good, so he didn't help him to recover, but he's getting left behind here as the group are riding away from him, and even his teammate is waiting for him. He's having difficulty in holding on to him, so he's still a long way from the top here. He must drop down, so even if he gets back on the descent, there's 17 kilometres of a climb then up to the top here in the finish at La Plagne.
And they're catching Munoz, who started the whole of this attacking there. You can see Gelinada was abandoned. Other riders abandoned today have been Martinello and Petito. We lost 3 riders then of the 169 that start this morning, so we're now down to 166 riders. And this is the man who's doing the damage. Alex Zuller himself, he's actually got a Dutch mother, so along the way here, I'm sure that the number of Dutch that have come out on holiday, you can see all the number plates on the side of the road and all their colours of their flags and so on. They're certainly going to support him just as much as the Swiss are out on the side of the road in profusion as well. I've always thought one day this man might do a ride, and I wonder if this is the one, Stephen, that we're watching this. He always struck me as he had the talent, but he just didn't seem to quite get there. But today it's a great ride. If only he keeps on with this one. As back here, look at the damage he's done. Berzin is really struggling. They've dropped Chengelter back to help him, and of course Miguel Indurain here will keep pressing on. The steamroller will be doing what he can to flatten all the opposition. That was a cartoon they had at the start of the Tour de France in the there was what was a bicycle equipped with 2 great big rollers on it, like a big steamroller. There was Miguel Indurain, and they were saying, oh, the same again. The photographer was saying, smile again, Miguel, that he was going to steamroll the opposition. But it's not that easy, this jersey, by any means.
No, like Miguel at this stage, I wouldn't think he's aware of the fact that Berzin is being dropped. He's just all he's been trying to do now is cut down the gap between himself and Zule. So he's riding on the front now. He has no information on his team, but he's still keeping there to try and catch Zule.
With the peloton here looking a bit distraught, some of these riders there. Tony Romigo on the right-hand side. In the green jersey in the centre is Jalabert, climbing quite comfortably. The Motorola rider, Machia, looking good at the moment. He's having quite a good Tour de France. He's up there in the top 20. And this is the territory now where the climbing specialists will really come into their own. It's the first time we've been up into mountains seriously. We had that little flurry in the coals round about Liège. But now this, look down, you see down the background there, down about, they've been right down at the bottom of that valley, and they're climbing up on this climb, which is 20-kilometre climb. There, Bjorn Ries in the red and white jersey of Denmark. He lies second overall in general classification, just 23 seconds down on Miguel Indurain, and he's letting them tow them up. There, the polka dot jersey of Richard Veronk is on this climb, and it's slimming down the numbers. There, the colours of Pulsey. That was Toschnig, the Austrian, who's an extremely good climber too. He comes to a village in Austria where wherever you go, you've got to go up a mountain. So he is an extremely good mountain climber indeed. And there he is climbing up this climb here. And oh, there's a nice bit of performance too, to think that he's hanging on in there at the moment, because we just had a quick look there at Eric Breaking. So honestly, really doing well. I know he's hanging on in there, but they've still got a man in there, haven't they?
Still a man in there, and it'll suit the likes like Brooking. The tempo that Miguel is actually, Miguel's team is actually making on this hill here, because if Brooking is not on really good form, when he's not really going good, he can hold the tempo for a long time. So I'm sure he's wishing now that the top of this hill comes very quickly, because the Col de la Plagne is not as difficult as this one here. Oh, it's in a bad way now. You see the cars are going past. You can't even see the group in front of him.
So Berzin,
disastrous for Berzin.
Yeah, well, he was been boasting that he'd show Indurain how to ride a Tour, but right now Indurain showing him how to ride a Tour, and Cengiz Alta doing a good teammate's job here to drop back to help this lad along, because he's going through an awful bad patch. All cyclists know what it's like, but you don't know until you get into something like the Tour de France with these great mountains that suffering is beyond all ordinary limits. These men are giants of the road, and look at Indurain here pumping around those pedals, and we've all suddenly, I think, realised this Tour we've got a new Indurain, haven't we?
Well, you know, Indurain has gone into the mountains today, and he's never had so many potential dethroners so near to him. Like in previous years, he's always, after the first major time trial, he's always put a couple of minutes into his second, his nearest adversary, his nearest rival. But this year in Tour de France, he has, I counted this morning, some 10 potential replacements, if you could call them replacements, ready to pounce. Now he only has 9 with Berzin gone, but there's still many more there. Not right as we're talking about today, we're talking about Berzin, Romigo today, but there are also like Ries, who is there, who was a potential winner. Maybe if he hasn't got it to win, he's definitely a podium maker. And there's also like guys like Virenque, who's actually 10 minutes down on GC, but 10 minutes in the mountains can come back very, very quickly. So Capucci is also said he's going to try something before the end. Fontani's there, Jalabert is there, you know, there's Zuli's there. Indurain has never had so many real, genuine potential dethroners, to call them that, so near to him going into the mountains.
There's only about 28 riders in what's left of the peloton. The aggressive riding of Zulla has now slimmed it down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. Yeah, about 30 riders there. This is a man that's doing the damage. Alex Zulla riding so hard, the rest of them just can't hang on to that. It's 3:35 now. Yeah, it was 3:15. Yeah, 3:15 before. Now it's 3:35. We're on the climb up this very, very tough mountain, the Comet de Roseland. When they get to the top of it, they'll be 1,968 metres above sea level. They started down the bottom at 740 metres above sea level, so they will have actually gone up this climb of something like 1,228 metres of climbing. That's something like about 3,800 feet, nearly 4,000 feet of climbing in 12 and a half constant miles.
It is, though. It's an awful lot of climbing. Today's stage is not a very long stage by any means, 150 kilometres long, but the length of these climbs being very, very long makes it more of an uphill stage than a downhill stage. Even though you have fairly long descents, there's an awful lot of uphill in the stage today. I see Romigo there in a picture, still looking reasonably comfortable, very, very well placed, with having some teammates there beside him as well to help him. Capucci there as well on the right hand side of the screen.
Capucci's number 24, by the way, 61.
Fontani's there on the wheel as well.
And there, 61, that's the Once rider, Jalabert, sitting in quite comfortably, just letting the battle rage right in front of him.
I'm very surprised there, we don't see Virenque hanging around the front at all. He's there, okay, but Normally when Frank is normally on good legs, when he has good legs, he's normally hovering around the front, not too far away from Untitled. So I didn't expect to see his jersey there. He's there okay, but I wonder is he having a kind of a morning after the night before, like, or a morning after the rest day, where not everyone appreciates the day after the rest day, because it's always very difficult to do things right. Your body gets used to riding every day, making efforts every day, sweating, sprinting, climbing every day. Then all of a sudden you get as Zula comes up to the mountains here, I think. But your body gets used to making efforts every day, and all of a sudden for one day your body doesn't make the same effort. So different riders appreciate different rest days. Some riders must go out, like a Butcher must go out into 3 hours hard riding. Some riders go out into 1 hour slow riding. But every rider is different. Every rider appreciates different in one way or another the rest day, because if you don't do things right on the next day, with today being a mountain stage, you can go backwards. I think that's probably what's happened to Berzin today. He doesn't actually appreciate the rest day.
The point he's just come through Zula, cold and Melier. That is 102 kilometres covered. There are 160 kilometres today, so in fact he's still got this 48 kilometres to go to finish. Sorry, 58 kilometres to go to finish. He's still at that lake down there below him. It's only a little bit of a false descent. See over the far side of the lake, that's zigzag road. That's where he goes back up the top toward the Comet de Roseland. He's just got a brief bit of respite here, but it's only very brief indeed.
When I say he doesn't appreciate the rest of it, I mean is, I'm sure he appreciates it, of course, but I mean is he doesn't recover properly. Some riders prefer to have a straight through race rather than having a rest day to cut the routine. Whereas some riders, like a Bush, like I was saying, doesn't appreciate it. I mean, the body doesn't accept the word for it. I can't find a word for it. They've helped me a little bit. The body doesn't recover properly after rest days.
Well, the lake on the right-hand side looks nice, cool and calm and very pleasant. It's the Roseland Lake, as you might expect, as we've just got towards the top of the Roseland climb in the Beaufortin type of part of the Alps. In fact, to the north east of here, only just about 20 kilometres away, is Mont Blanc. We may in fact pick that up on cameras, the massive du Mont Blanc and the big mountain of Mont Blanc. When they go to the top of the Comet de Roseland, it's probably it's just about 20 kilometres from the Comet de Roseland over to the top of Mont Blanc.
The Yellow Bear is still in there. So far, the first 15 riders gone through. We still don't see any sign at all of Wishabianka.
And still then Zula in the lead by about 3 minutes and 35 seconds. The main group still climbing up the interim climb of the Comet de Roseland. They've got to go over the Col de Marais. Just as it'll drop down, and it's thinned down. No more than about 25, 28 riders left here at the moment. And Bronchi's still there, riding way out on the side. He doesn't seem to ride in shelter, does he? Eh?
Not riding well today. I see the big gear he's riding. Normally he's pedaling fast, and now today he's riding a biggish gear. So I wouldn't say he's too comfortable today. And Francois Simon in there. For those of you who are following us to the start of the Tour de France in Saint-Brieuc, the Indurain's taking over the relay now, is he?
Yes, all the rest of the drop back. That top shot shows. In fact, nobody left there at all. They've got one man here. The rest are being dropped through the pressure.
There as well, but I was saying with Francois Simon we saw in there, we saw he was very uncomfortable in the first 2 or 3 days of the Tour, having illness, but we see now that his teammates did the right thing by waiting for him, because here we are now on a mountain stage of Tour de France, and there he is in there, still with the leaders.
And still then the Vanessa rider on the front, Indurain behind him. I saw also Pavel Tonkov, the Lamprey rider, is still there as well, the man who won the Tour of Switzerland. He's very, very good form at the moment, Tonkov, and he has not, I'll have to check his performance in the Tour de France. I'm not quite sure that he's actually even finished it before in the past. He's always been very consistent in the Tour of Italy. He's ridden it like 4 years on the trot and always been in the top 10 placings, and he's nicely placed at the moment in that pink jersey for Lamprey behind Indurain. Quick swig of a bottle for Romigo. So a lot of the top men are still here. The one we've lost so far today is Berzin, who's trailing way off the back of this group here on the chase to try and pull back Zula. Now, I haven't seen anything with Armstrong or or Bo Hamburger, because they were originally part of that little group that were up there at the front. So unless they've dropped back, I don't know if you've seen it, Steve. I've been looking at my notes from time to time, but they've not said anything about Armstrong, have they?
They haven't. Yaskula there on the back. We have seen. I have seen a couple of Motorola jerseys in there, but from a helicopter it's very difficult to see who was who. That's Yaskula, the number 31, of course. Yeah, he's had a very, very good tour the last couple of years. You see him here, he's 2 or 3 yards off the back. For Yaskula, that's not really a major problem. We used to always say Yaskula's off the wheels, he must be having difficulty, but he can't ride on the wheels. He always has to be 2 or 3 yards off the back of the wheel, which is normally not so good because you get more wind back there, you have less shelter. So Yaskula, it's very common to see him riding off the wheels.
Pantani looking very comfortable indeed. One or two of the Benessos at the back there, still perhaps a little bit in favour. And here we've had a quick look at Cubino, yes, who took a stage victory in the Tour of Italy just 4 weeks ago now. Good mountain climber indeed. Just up in front of him then, that's Gerard Rui, one of the strong lieutenants of the Benesto team. Just at the back then, having a quick look at the rest of the riders, Jean-Cyril Robin, who's also been climbing well. He took the second spot on the Col de Marie early on, and so he must wanting to get himself well up in the King of the Mountains competition. Still then, remember
these names today, Jean-Cyril Robin, these guys, because these are guys we're going to be talking about in the future. We've been talking about since the start of the tour a few days ago. Every day they've been a break or something. They've always been not too far away from us. So these riders, the name is Jean-Cyril Robin, Thibault. They're all names that are very, 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 very strange to us today. But remember them because I think those riders are going to be the riders of the future.
Well, according to our computer here, they're still saying that Hamburger's at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, and the gap then 3:35 from Zula back to the main group. Berzin now been dropped. He's 47 seconds behind the group and struggling somewhat. Petito, yes, we've already said to you he's abandoned. We know that he's gone. Martineau's gone, and the other one that's gone today is Yellow Nidem. They're dropping away with the sheer speed of the race so far, and now flogging up this hard climb up the Roseland. Let me tell you, we have in fact covered so far 1,425 kilometres, and the average speed is 43.738 miles per hour. 44 kilometres, 27.5 miles an hour. So the average speed is 27 miles an hour as at today in the tour. And this man out in front doing a great ride. This is a tremendously courageous thing to do. And I told you earlier on about the melting snow, and there the torrents going down the mountainside into that Lake Roseland off on the right hand side, up in the Alps. The beauty of this scenery is magnificent, but this is a place to suffer, and many of these riders now are really in trouble.
Well, in Duran it'll suit him to keep the group here together now if he can. If he goes over the top, he still has I see 2 teammates in there at the moment, so you see Rui here on the left hand side of the screen. I think it's Rui actually, but it means that they'll be able to ride with me well on the small little valley between the descent of the col here and La Plagne, and then maybe he can give a tempo himself then. As you see here, he actually started to make a tempo, but the col de La Plagne is very good for Miguel because it's very long and very, very even. It's an average gradient of about 7%, which is not very much really. It'll suit more the likes of a nice tempo than actually the climbers like the Pantani and Jascula and Romigo.
Well, Rui, who seemed to be having a bit of a breather further back down this little group, has now worked his way up to do his usual stalwart job on the front for Miguel Indurain. And you can see why, when the winner gets to the Tour de France finish in Paris, that they share out the prizes, the overall yellow jersey, looking to pay back his dues to his teammates. And you can see why, the way the Benestos have been riding on the front here, but all the other teams now begin to have no more than about a couple of riders. I can see 2 of the Mappe in there, a couple of Festina riders in there. Once has still got a couple as well, but the pace now is beginning to tell. Looks like a couple of Casaramas in there.
Laura Madwas coming up on the left hand side, on the right hand side of the screen there. He had a great Tour of Italy this year. He was praying that the mountains would come fast because he was getting a bit annoyed with all the flat roads up around Belgium and Brittany, because flat mean relatively flat roads, because he doesn't like at all the big bunches from the pushing and shoving, so he finds himself more in his elements now on the climbs.
And a couple of careers there, Pucci together. In fact, there's 3 career riders I can see
4 minutes there.
Oh, that's it now. This morning it was 4:29, the gap between himself and the yellow jersey, and somebody begins to move up on the right hand side here, and he can be virtually yellow jersey on the road. What a tremendous ride. He set off then after they'd covered some 70 kilometres of racing so far today, and we've got 160 kilometres kilometres on. He's got to do 90 kilometres on his own to stay out there and get that 4 minutes 29 seconds back. This is one of those bold classic moves that you read about in the books in the Tour de France. For so many years now, there's been a lot of riders who've been riding for their own position, just saving a few seconds here, there, and not wishing to attack. We're now seeing somebody putting down the gauntlet and saying, I'm going to have an attack. This is great. It used to happen in the old days. Riders would go off and win stay by 10, 12 minutes, and then have to be fetched back in another day. The same thing happened again. It's got very technical, but today this man is really having a go. Brilliant, isn't it, Stephen?
It is. In one sense, like maybe a little bit suicide for him doing this, because I'm sure when Injuran hits the last hill, he'll make a tempo, and he will, even if Zule is caught, if he's not caught, the gap will have come down, I'd say, considerably. It's considerable. But I think it's really a pity that the Ounce didn't launch somebody a little less known, a little less dominant as Zule, because it would have meant that the Benesses would have had to ride behind him even still. But when he was caught, Zule could have launched his attack then, because you can see for Zule to keep increasing his lead on these riders, riding at a good tempo behind. As you can see, all the riders going at the back, meaning that the group is actually going at a good tempo. Zule has got the legs today, do an incredible number today. So in one sense, it's a pity there wasn't somebody else doing it first. But at the same time, if he can hold it off, you know, it would be an extremely incredible exploit on his own behalf.
Look at that shot from our camera. I told you the magnificent splendour of the Alps and the snow-topped craggy mountains up there, sending down the water. Up there goes the riders and the crowd who've been out here for hours. Some of them camped out overnight to get the best position. Have a wonderful view of bike racing at its best. They see these giants of the road going past them, and they look at the pain and suffering on their face as the big pack here on the way up the climb still then trying to redress the deficit. It is 4 minutes, the last time check we had back to this group of riders, and there in the yellow jersey is Indurain. Round about him, Tonkop in the purple colours, Jalabert in the green just behind him then. We can see Veronk in the polka dot jersey, Romigo just in the blue and the white colours up there as well. Looks like Toshnik from the Polti team in the yellow colours is also up by this little group at the moment. But way down the back, we know that Berzin has been dropped off. The last time check we had, he's 47 seconds down, but it could be getting worse as far as he's concerned. It's actually getting a little bit overcast now. The puffy white cotton wool clouds are beginning to gather on top of the mountains, and it's getting a bit chilly too. Steve's beginning to put his jacket on here because it's getting, the winds begin to blow off the top and the sun has gone in, so it's getting a bit chilly. There we are, the gap 4 minutes back to the peloton, and still looks like Hamburg and Armstrong are in no man's land, but they're losing ground on this marvellous ride then of Alex Zülle, the Swiss rider then now some 4 minutes up on this main group.
As the time check, if I saw correctly there, the group of Armstrong and Hamburg will be about 3:25, I think, behind Zülle, so they shouldn't be too far ahead of this group now. So it should see them being swallowed up quite shortly by the group of Miguel. It is very warm out there again today, even though there's not very much sunshine. It is very, very heavy out there, so they are relatively good conditions. If you are on Reese here on the right hand side of the screen here, they are relatively good conditions for racing today. It's not too cold, not too warm. There is a little bit of air there, a little bit of wind. So, but the major problem I see today is the day after a rest day, and not everybody can support the day after rest day. Most riders must give themselves a very, very hard flogging on the rest day so that they can keep up the momentum and keep the body. John Foster Bernard here is with Berzin, but some riders don't digest the rest day.
So certainly the damage being done on this Comet de Roseland, 1,968 metres above sea level. We came over in 1979 when Lubberink was the first man across the top. In 1984, Castang was the first man over the top. 1987, when you were riding, Stephen Hermans was the first man over the top. And last time he came over was in 1992. Kierpucci was over the top in first place. Zülle is on his way to the top of this climb, having put 4 minutes between himself and the main peloton. the craggy mountains of the Alps, seeing yet another tremendous battle being raged on this climb towards the top of the Comet de Roseland. And when the riders get there, the top of this climb, they will have covered today 110 kilometres. There'll still be 50 kilometres to go to the finish. They've been climbing then for some 20 kilometres, that's about 12.5 miles. The actual climb distance from when they were down at Beaufort, which was just some 740 metres above sea level, to the top here at 1,968 metres above sea level, they'll actually climb 1,228 metres in 20 kilometres. And in feet, by the time they get up here, they've gone something like about just under 4,000 feet, about 3,700 feet, in fact, in just 12.5 miles of climbing. That gives you some idea of the sheer magnitude of the effort, as still Jaskula is desperately hanging on for death at the back. What a man.
Tell with him, because I think he's hanging on there, but he was never a rider to actually stay in the wheels. Like, he can never stay in the wheels. So you can imagine now, for example, you look at the other riders that are sitting in the back of the bunch, the shelter that they're getting from the whole pack sweeping along. Jaskula is 3 yards off the back of them, so you can imagine he must be getting an awful lot of wind in his face, but still he just cannot stay in the wheels.
And this is the front of the pack where the damage is being done at the moment by Zula's attack, and Kipucci begin to move forward. So at least still the lid is on this little chasing group. Yes, that's interesting. When he puts his hat on his little triathlon, mini triathlon bar. So I noticed he didn't carry a hat like that.
Actually, it wasn't made to carry a hat. It's not actually a crash hat carrier.
Just to do something new, eh?
Like semi-tri bars, but to be used on racing bikes. Most of the riders have them on their bikes now. But Kipucci has his hat in there. What a place to hold the hat. You can imagine, like, the helmets now becoming more and more important. They're not obligatory in a race at the moment, but still there are an awful lot of crashes these days now, and some happen on descent, some happen in the finish, but the more protection you have, whether it be in the descent or in the finish, the better it is for the person. But Kipucci or anybody using a hard shell helmet in the mountains, so it's very, very difficult to keep it on, because they're never going fast enough for the air to go through fast enough and cool the head down. So it feels like your head's in an oven going up the hill, but downhill you fall off. You might be happy to have the hat. So this is where Kipucci now will have his hat hanging here going up the hill, so his head can breathe, and then when he starts going downhill, then he'll put his helmet back on again.
Well, there's actually about 40 riders there, so one or two have come up from the back to catch on with this. It looks like Munoz at the back is struggling somewhat, the rider from the Kelme team that was the first to launch the attacks, and he's beginning to drift a little bit off there. But if you look down that group, we've got a tremendous number of good men still there. In the yellow jersey, Miguel Indurain. Rio is up there with him. On his wheel in the green jersey, I spotted Jalabert. Claudio Kipucci is there. Pantani is there. Tonkov in the pink on the right-hand side is there. Also, looking back down the group, we saw Bjorn Rees in the red and white jersey. Brunel is there in the pink on the left-hand side for Onsei as well. So there's a really good cracking number of top riders here. The only one really that's missing is Burson, isn't it?
It is, but it's also a very, very strange scene to have a mountain stage and to have the yellow jersey, the mountains jersey and the points jersey. That used to happen years ago. Sometimes it might have Freddie Martins down again used to be in there, but Sean Kelly was there a couple of times as well. But since then we have very, very rarely seen a green jersey of a points leader in the front in the mountain stage. So there's an awful lot of good lads in there. It just shows you that Jalabert has made an awful lot of progress through this year since his crash last year in Armentières, and he looks very, very comfortable indeed in there.
Well, here comes Sulla then up towards the top of this climb then, and the crowd has gathered to watch an epic race, and he goes over the top then in the lead. The clock on the left hand side will show the time gap back to the main group. The last time check we had, it was 4 minutes then, as Alex Sulla goes over the top. He finished 8th last year in the Tour de France. His first time of riding it, he finished in 41st place in 1993. That was the year when he had 8 victories. The year before that, he had 8 victories as well. He's won things like the Paris-Nice. He's had a couple of stage victories in the Paris-Nice as well. In the Tour of Spain, he was 4th last year, 2nd the year before that when he's won 3 stages as well. And this year he finished 2nd in the Tour of Switzerland. He's done the damage now. He's split this field wide open, 169 stars. We've dropped 3 men who've abandoned so far, and there's only about 30 riders in this main group, and just about anybody is in that one except for Berzin, who the last time check we had was well down the back, some 47 seconds off the pace.
The pace is a very fast pace here today. We've seen Miguel Indurain there on Ruiz wheel. You get the impression he's just kind of waiting to launch himself into orbit because he is holding back. But I'm sure he's waiting for us to come down onto the flat, and then if there's no teammates left after 3 or 4 kilometres at the final hill, he will have no problem in taking over himself and maintaining everybody to the finish.
And Miguel Indurain looking quite comfortable indeed, but he'll know the time gaps we sent back to him, telling him that Zuller was at one time 4 minutes ahead. Now let's see, in fact, what's going to happen when we start to climb, when they come over the top of this climb at the 1,968 metres above sea level. See, all the names have been painted on there by the people who've been out since the crack of dawn, and some are staying overnight because they close the roads off. If everything are coming out to watch the Tour de France and want to go into the mountains, then you've got to be prepared to be on the road something like about 6 hours before the race comes through. Otherwise you get stopped by the gendarmes. The other problem is that however early you get up there, somebody's always parked his car in the best possible places. I think that's about 1 kilometre to go, and he's off down the other side. My watch is showing 2 minutes and 3 seconds was the gap. They might have pulled back a little bit on that climb with 1 kilometre to go, because they probably would do that just inside 2 minutes. This is the descent. It gets quite narrow further on down, the drop, and in fact it'll suit one man on the descent, and particularly probably someone like Chiappucci who wants to nip off the front and try and join up. This is probably the time to do it, because when they get down to the bottom, there's just a short bit of about 10 kilometres between Bourg-Saint-Maurice and Amy, where it's fairly flat. But then when we hit the bottom of the climb for La Plagne, we've got some 18 kilometres of climbing straight up to this ski resort, where a big crowd now is getting highly excited at the thought that we might get a Swiss victory. But still, that is some way to go yet. My clock said there's still, it's 2 minutes and 50 seconds have gone since Zuller went over the top.
I would have thought that maybe this is a great opportunity now for, not in the last kilometre of the hill, but especially with 2-3 kilometres to go to the top, would have been a great opportunity for somebody else to attack, because it would have put Indurain a little bit in difficulty, because, not difficulty, but he would have tried to eliminate one or two more of his teammates. And then of course if he got to the top, then there could have been the long descent, which would, initially it doesn't suit a one-man effort, because it's a very wide road, so you make better ground in a group, but at the same time the road gets very narrow as you go down, and it would suit a one-man breakaway group.
Well, whilst I've been looking over the top from our commentary point here, I can actually see a helicopter below us. With that high up in the sky here, we look down at the bottom of the valley. We're up at the top of La Plagne. The houses look like little matchbox. They would say teeny-weeny ones, and there's a helicopter right down in the valley below us at the moment, and we can look right down. It actually is moving gradually up the valley right now. So that's the flashing light showing they get toward the top of the climb.
Ivanka moving forward in second place now. He's going to try and get the points for the Grand Prix de Melt with his teammate Laurent Defoe, is it, actually leading him out?
It's one of the first things. I think it's Defoe. He was with the group earlier on.
Laurent Defoe leading him out there for the Grand Prix of the Mountains.
So on the
Rouet, is it?
climb, looks like Rouet has been dropped. They're getting towards the top of the climb. The gap is 4 minutes and 29 seconds on my watch. It looks like Zuller has now taken the lead, as it's 4 minutes 29 seconds back here to Zuller. The last time, now 4:40, it's on there. So Zuller has now gone into the yellow jersey as Hamburger is on his way up the climb. Well, what a day we've got here in the Tour de France. This then the stage going over the first category climb of the Commet de Roseland. The gap 4:53 back to Hamburger, and there the 4:59 back to Indurain in the yellow jersey. He's now technically lost it on the road. What a brilliant performance from Zuller.
Yeah, it's an incredible performance, but the problem is, Dave, the finish line is not on the Col de Roseland. The finish line is on Col de la Plagne, so Indurain now has to make sure he gets one or two teammates back now to help him ride in the valley between the end of the Sill and the foot of La Plagne, and I think on the Plagne himself he will control everything himself.
On the descent, the riders will be travelling down here at something like about 50 miles an hour, chasing after this figure, Zuller, who now is there confirmed on our screen that he's virtually yellow jersey in the Tour de France. This race is developing into a real cracker.
Eurosport.
contact pressure is to hit him hard, and he's really rocking now, Stephen.
He is. Miguel had a gear, has right at the moment a 41, 18 and 19. He was using a 41, 18, 19. He said he was going to be, felt better going from 18, 19 rather than going 18, 20. So he's using the two. As you don't see him changing very much here at the moment, but he's using a 41, 18 most of the way up it.
And Lanfranchi looks like he's beginning to get shot off as Pantani is up the front, but they're really battling for the lower places. That is the 5 kilometre go point, and according to my watch here, 4 minutes and 30 odd seconds separate Zuller from looks like Pantani. Pantani's riding in third spot at the moment, 4 minutes 40 seconds down on Zuller. Well, I said that Pantani's going into third spot here. Zuller first on the road, then Indurain, but I haven't actually seen Tonkov being caught, so he may still be out there in no man's land. The camera's ripping backwards and forwards, and here we are with Alex Zuller then. This year already first in the Tour of Valencia when he won a stage in that one. He was second behind Frattini when Frattini won the Settimana Catalana, but he won the time trial on the final day. He won the Tour of Holland when Jalabert was second, and he took stage 3 and then beat Romigo in the final time trial. When he rode the Tour of Switzerland, he was second, having lost 11 seconds to Tonkov on a very tough climb indeed. But he won the uphill time trial, showing great strength on that day. So Zuller's digging into all the reserves he's got for climbing. 5:34 back to this group from Zuller. So he's maintaining, actually, Stephen, the gap which he's had all day long with that group. It's this man that's going faster, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. There's 2 minutes now between Indurain and this group, and 2.5 minutes between Indurain and the first group. So Indurain now in the last 6 kilometres has put 2.5 minutes into the group Capucci.
And Zuller then 2:44. He might just hang on to the stage victory. He turned pro way back in 1992 when he won a stage in the Tour of Catalonia. Took a stage in the Semana International when he finished second overall. He won the Volta a Asturias overall and took a stage victory in that. He won the Volta Ciclista de Burgos as well and took a stage victory in that. He won the Escalada de Monchus with the mountain climb at the end of the season, and we all thought that he was on his way to be one of the grand champions. He hasn't gone quite as well since then as Zuller, but he has shown this year a great return. His best performance in 93 was to take the Paris-Nice a couple of stages, but this man here, who really just puts his whole season round one event, the Tour de France, the greatest bike race in the world, and that is where the theatre is as far as Indurain is concerned. He wants to be number one as far as he's concerned. He's going to be number one. He's just going to win the best bike race in the world, the Tour de France, and here he is now going after Zuller, but can he get that stage victory off Zuller? The battle is on at the moment. They're getting in towards those final couple of kilometres, and Indurain is really riding away from the opposition.
He is. It's going to be difficult for him to catch Zule, because Zule is digging very, very deep now to his reserves now to fight off Indurain. He will know how far Indurain is behind him. He will know how far he has to go to the finish, and he will try to maintain his speed to win the stage, because it'd be what a shame after doing all the riding in the front and to have the stage being taken off you in the last kilometre or two.
And Escartin begin to struggle a bit now. He's been doing all he can to help Tony Romigo and keep that gap down as small as possible. Getting close in towards La Plagne. There, the ski chalets in the background, reverberating to the sound in the winter, the discos, and everybody having a great time here when the snow is falling down over those mountains you see in the background. But now bike racing, the third time we've been up here. Every time they have these new ski resorts developed, it means another uphill finish for the Tour de France. Didn't used to happen way back when it started in 1903. That really was when the giants went out and were covering something like about 400 miles a day, and they would ride for 1 day, rest for 3, ride for 1 day, rest for 3. And now this modern tour bringing these stages, but how fierce it's being fought out. The average speed this morning was just over 27 miles an hour for the 1,400 kilometres they covered so far. Pantani now chasing up to try and get third spot. We haven't seen Tonkov at all. There's 1 kilometre between them. So unless he falls off, he looks like he might well have the stage victory. He's got 2 to go. Indurain's got 3 to go, but the gap is coming down all the time.
Yeah, kilometre is not very much. A kilometre is only 2 minutes, so the time is the time between Indurain and Zule is coming down very, very quickly. So it's going to be very, very tight for the stage win. Indurain, of course, coming from behind, will have the advantage of having Zuli inside. So once he gets Zuli inside, he will give it all he's had. I'm sure Indurain is motivated now only by a stage win.
So on this climb up towards La Plagne, the man Zuller, 9th overall this morning on general classification, 4 minutes and 29 seconds down. He had a lead at one time of some 5.5 minutes, which meant that this yellow jersey was in jeopardy. Zuller's teammates honestly did all they could to stay in the main pack and keep an eye on Indurain, but he got away from them, and the Benesto did a wonderful job to shelter their man until we started this final climb of the day. And now he's after Zuller. He's cut that gap down to about 2.5 minutes. He's coming down near to 2 minutes as Zuller is beginning to struggle, having been out there for some 90 kilometres. And Indurain is pedalling faster and faster and faster, looking for that stage victory today. But Zuller in front is desperately hanging on to try and get his first stage victory ever in the Tour de France.
Oh yes, you can see Indurain is really biting the grit. He's gritting his teeth now. He's struggling himself. He knows that he's very, very close to winning the stage today, but he has to catch Zuli first.
And this is Zuller in the pink, and certainly let's hope he's got something left in his legs after today for tomorrow when we have that big stage up the Alpe d'Huez. The mountain men are in their elements right now. We've been on the flatter parts of the Tour. Oh, that stupid man running in front just like that with that flag. This should not happen. They're crazy, some of these spectators. They must allow these athletes plenty of room to go on. And
once he gets to the last kilometre and a half, there are barriers. He goes down right here and from then on into the barriers on each side of the road, so he'll be okay. But at the same time, he must keep the pressure on because Indurain is coming back at him very, very fast.
Here we are, that right-hand bend, and look at this stupid man running in front. He's a Swiss rider as well. He nearly brought down the man that all Switzerland is hoping will win the stage today and certainly move up on general classification. Pantani and Gotti have dropped Lanfranchi. I haven't seen anything about Tonkov, so he could be 3rd and 4th here. I'm going to say that, but I don't know what happened to Tonkov. He must have been suddenly dropped by Indurain, and must have been dropped also by Pantani and Gotti. Let's work that way then. And here the Basque flag in the background.
He's not taking much time now. The time has stayed the same between Zuli and Indurain in the last kilometre. So even though Indurain seems to be going by faster, riding better than Zuli, he's not getting any time back on him. Look at him gritting his teeth here.
We've seldom seen Indurain with a look like that on his face. When I saw him like that before, it was when he was riding with Pedro Delgado as his domestique to take him in towards his victories. He did not finish the first couple of Tour de France he rode, and in fact he just used to come on in riding Indurain in for Delgado's position. But now with Zuller heading possibly towards his first stage victory in the Tour de France, and behind him Indurain is trying to close that gap down. He might even have his man in sight on this final kilometre. Still then Zuller going in towards the finish. Can he hang on as Jalabert is coming after, as Indurain is coming after him? Out of the saddle, dancing on the pedals, back in the saddle, gritting his teeth. He's been out there now for nearly 90 kilometres, over 50 miles. Stephen, this is one of the great rides we've seen. We haven't seen one like this for a long time, except Pure Pucci must have been, Sestia, was that 3 years ago? This is another super ride.
This is an epic ride by Alex Zulu. We had given him much hope for the last couple of years. He hasn't shown to the same level we had hoped on him, but this year he's definitely come back into the Super Tour Switzerland. He's coming back now into the stage written today shows that he is a man to be reckoned for the future. As Indurain we see here again, he's fighting back at him. He was short to see him have him in sight.
And Indurain then, who looked like he's going to lose that jersey, has done what he's had to do. He's gone after Zuller, but he's also recognising he must keep that man as close as he can do, because Zuller will climb up the general classification. He was 4:29 down this morning. The gap now is probably less than a couple of minutes.
It's down in less than 2 minutes, but at the same time he's not gaining any more now on Zuli. Even though Zuli is suffering, he's having a bad patch, but he's still having it bad. You can see the finish now. He's still putting the big ring up. He's got 500 yards to go now.
And he's out the saddle, down on the hooks, and just pushing on those pedals. Somewhere when you can see the finish comes a bit more strength to carry you through to victory. And Zuller now has recovered from his bad patch. It's going to be his first ever stage victory in the Tour de France. He's done it in the best way possible. He's attacked the yellow jersey. He's done most of the last 90 kilometres on his own, and he hasn't missed a beat. He started to struggle on the climb up here, but he's hung on, and he's going to take the victory. the crowd here cheering the Swiss rider, Alex Sulla. In fact, he was 27 on the 5th of July, and here he comes up towards the finish line for a late belated birthday present, and it's a victory at La Plagne in the Tour de France 1995. But look how close Indurain has got towards him. The scrum of photographers are pushing forward.
Indurain's got under the kilometre to go sign now, so Indurain, even though he looks more comfortable than Zule, hasn't taken a second out of Zule in the last 2 kilometres.
And look at his face then, Stephen. We know he's always looked so calm and cool. We've seen him in this tour with a different look.
But we've seen Zule coming in direct, and we see Indurain now. When you see Indurain now, the way compared to Zule, and he did not take even 1 second out of Zule in the last 2 kilometres. So Indurain is hurting here now, because he knows he has to get as near as he can to Zule, because Zule is going to be one of the men that's going to be fighting against him in the next few days in the mountains. So he has to get as close as he can to Zule.
And just think of that, all you viewers back at home, they've covered 100 miles in 4 hours and 41 minutes, and that's including going over 2 first category climbs, one 1,650 metres above sea level, the other 1,968 metres above, and finished up the top here at La Plagne 1,980 metres above sea level. They've had something like about 70 or 80 kilometres of uphill climbing, and they've still done the 100 miles inside 5 hours, over 20 miles an hour under the most difficult conditions today, and it has been a fantastic race, and Indurain has fought his way back all the way through. This has been a cracking day today.
The last epic finish we had here in the Plagne was in '87 when I was here fighting after Delgado. Here we have Indurain fighting after Zule. The Plagne here has been the place of many epic rides over the last few years.
And he's not going to let 1 second go without fighting for it, is he?
Well, he has to, because Zule is only 4:29 down. Zule is going to be little less than 2 minutes down on the stage, so it means Zule is going to be second place. Look at Indurain fighting. Look at him. We've never seen him like this. Never.
His face is a mask of pain and suffering. The way in which Zule has made Indurain suffer today is quite something. He's just come across the line. Having looked to see what sort of state he's in here, he is absolutely, well, my goodness, I've only seen him once before, a bit like that. That was in the Tour of Italy a couple of years ago when Ugramov did him on a time finish, but he collapsed against the barriers. Indurain normally rides so smooth, so coolly, but he's been under a lot of pressure today, as the race is now on for 3rd spot with Pantani and Gotti heading toward the finish. Well, champion, it says there, they're sponsoring the King of the Mountains climb, and the champion performance today has been Zule to get that stage victory, and Indurain to keep so close to the jersey. What was the time did you write down, Steve? I didn't get around to writing it down. But,
we didn't get a time. The time was about a little less than 2 minutes, about 1:50 it was.
About 2 minutes then.
But little under 2 minutes between Zule and Indurain to finish. So that leaves Zule will be about 2.5 minutes now only down on general classification. But of course the unfortunate thing is that all the other rivals, immediate rivals of Indurain, have been wiped out altogether on the Tour de France so far. So it means Indurain has to watch very closely now. Only one man, so it makes the race open for a lot of riders, but at the same time closes in for the first place of general classification.
And so the Zule will find himself catapulted up the overall classification. The man who started out in 2nd spot this morning, Bjorn Rees, has been blasted way down the mountain. We haven't seen much of him. Berzin was really shot off on the just after the first big climb. Here comes Tonkov, who tried desperately to get up there to Zule. Left it a bit late, I think. Indurain caught him and then went past him. And here he's coming in to finish 3 minutes 40, or maybe 3:50 something down on Zule, and he's lost also about another minute or so, minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes down on Indurain. Everybody, I've got my clock going, by the way, Stephen, when Indurain came over the line, because not only what's happened with Zule, that's the clock back from Indurain on the rest of the people who are challenging. So he's knocked another 2 minutes out of Tonkov. And this morning Tonkov then at 9 minutes and 2 seconds, so he's now 11 minutes down. Pantani coming in here to finish. Well, he's not looking for an overall classification, he's looking for a stage victory in the mountains. Well, he didn't get it today. He got
but at the same time we're doing this like he's bringing himself up in general classification, and with the mountains that have to come, could find himself very easily on the podium, Dave.
Yep. So Pantani then just finishing 2:35 down on on Indurain, with the clock on the left-hand side showing how far down they are on the victor of the day.
There's Romigo and Virenque and Capucci coming into now with a kilometre to go, so they're getting some hiding today.
And for those of you
this race has been exploded, a bomb has gone to the middle of the peloton and blown everybody away on general classification. It's incredible. We've never ever seen such big gaps here since the time of Eddie Merckx, I think.
Yep, and he's done it in Indurain. Everybody said he was strong, but we've never seen him ride not only as strong but push himself to the limit as much as he's done today. Because look at the state of these riders here now. They're rolling up here as best they can do, but according to my watch here, they've lost another 3 minutes and 20 seconds so far, and they've got some way, another 350 metres to go to the finish. So
look at Virenque here, Dave. Look at him, he's being very, very hedgy. Like he knows all he wants to do is beat the lads to the sprint on the line. He could ride, he's more interested in getting first across the line here for a 5th to 6th place, and the speaker would say here's Richard Virenque, than actually riding and getting closer to Indurain.
And Romigo then 2:32 down this morning on Indurain, now coming up to try and get away from Virenque. Perhaps Virenque's polka dot jersey may be under pressure, but no, he's going ahead now just to get some more points. He's determined to get those polka dot jersey, but Zulla will have moved up into 2nd place on the King of the Mountains because Virenque coming in there, and he is in fact now, that's 4 minutes back by the way from Indurain. So Romigo now is 6 minutes and 32 seconds down. Romigo 6 minutes and 32 seconds down on Indurain. Well, we can all pack our bags and go to Paris, I think.
Well, no, I think there's going to be great excitement now from the lesser place riders. It's going to be Zule and Romigo and Indurain fighting for the 1st place, but then you're going to have a great fight, I think, back down the field, I think.
Well, the rest have to fight for the King of the Mountains competition, have to fight for the individual stage victories, and the pain is on the face of Virenque. He's going round and round and round in the area on his bike, just trying to get some fresh air into his lungs. There we are, there's Plagne, a nice shot of this great ski resort, as here comes Jalabert. He shall certainly still keep his green jersey on his shoulders. Jalabert coming in now to finish.
Very good rider by Jalabert, because he hasn't lost that much time compared to the group like Pantani, Capucci and Romigo. So a very good ride for somebody who's really only discovering the mountains, for the really big mountains for the first time.
And he's riding up some very good mountain climbers too. He started this morning 160 points on the points competition ahead of Abdul Jafra 151, Cipollini 108. Well, Cipollini will die 1,000 deaths on the climbs today, so Jalabert helping himself to the more points. He certainly looks like that green jersey will stay on his shoulders the way he's going. Jalabert over the line now. We've seen the green jersey, the polka dot jersey and the yellow jersey on the line. The Plagne, the scene of much activity as the press are trying to get their stories, the interviewers from the radio trying to get into the scrum at the end here. Bjorn Ries has just gone over the line. He has lost 5 minutes and 50 seconds. 5 minutes and 50 seconds is the loss for Bjorn Ries on Indurain. So he started this morning only 23 seconds down. As we look back at Zulla coming through here, Zulla was the one that caused consternation in the camp when he went into the lead with 5 minutes and 15 seconds advantage over Indurain on the road. Technically the yellow jersey, but look on his face there. He's got the stage victory, but he had hoped to take this yellow jersey off the shoulders of Biglina, but Indurain fought all the way.
We've never ever witnessed Indurain making such faces. It's an incredible day, fantastic day today in the Tour de France, as every day since we started the Tour de France in Saint-Brieuc last week. Every day has been fascinating, and of course the jersey changing 8 times, 7 times, only in 8 days, 9 days.
2 minutes and 2 seconds separating these two at the end of the race. Zulla therefore 4:29 down this morning will have lost another, will have gained back a couple, 2:20, Indurain 2:2 and Tonkov 4:11. That's it, 4:51. I said before, that's 100 miles in 4 hours and 41 minutes, and it's been up some thumping great climbs today, and he's now moved up on general classification, I think in the 2nd spot, just some 2 minutes and 27 seconds down on Indurain, but it hurt.
I think my heart goes out to Zulla, because really deserved to win the stage today. There was no better. He was an incredible ride, an epic ride. One of those rides that kind of makes you kind of happy when you come across in the storybooks or the historian books, and you read about epic rides from different riders. This one will definitely go down in the history of cycling.
Sullivan, stage victor at Plagne. After the stage victor has received his laurels there, Zulla recovering. You can see the state he was in when he came across the line, but it's like so many of these riders, it doesn't take long to get the recovery back. But we're looking down here into some of the state of some of the riders when they're going across the line, coughing and spluttering, and really it has hurt today, and they really are in all sorts of trouble, some of the later riders coming in. Remember, there will be a time for the first rider. The percentage of that will be put upon the arrival of the later riders, and there might be some of them eliminated today on this very fast stage in the mountains. 4 hours and 41 minutes for 100 miles.
What a stage today, though. You see Yaskula just coming in there. Of course, Yaskula this morning, or Yaskula until about 35 minutes ago, was still felt he was in a position to be finishing the podium in Paris. Eric Brooking is just rolling in there now. Little bit down, but at the same time putting a reasonably good ride for the Ulster team.
And there, the yellow jersey going on the shoulders yet again of Miguel Indurain. He's made a habit of collecting not only yellow jerseys, but the line that goes with it as well. There he is with his bouquet of flowers, and little line on the left-hand side to add to the zoo collection he must have back in Spain. But this year in the Tour de France, we've seen a new Miguel Indurain, a man who's had to go out there and fight for the victory. Not the cool, calm, cold, calculating rider we've seen in the past, but a man who's prepared to go and attack, a man who's prepared to ride himself into the ground to save precious seconds, and really also not only to defend that yellow jersey and go after Zulla today, but to knock a hell of a lot of time out of other riders who had hoped to be challenging for this jersey. What a topsy-turvy Tour de France we've seen this year, but this man still is very much in charge.
No, he's demolished the whole field today, so he's very interested to see now tomorrow on the stage into Alpe d'Huez, where there are still a number of good climbs to go over, such as the Madeleine and the Croix de Fer. It'll be interesting to see now how the other riders that lost out today will react. Will they attack him? Will they settle for second place? Will they attack each other? Who knows?
Well, the gap back to Rees, 5 minutes and 58 seconds. He started 23 seconds down. Just shows the damage that was done between the battle between Zulla and Indurain for stage victory and that yellow jersey. Zulla went for it, and look what damage has been done to the rest of the contenders for the crown. Romigo back in fourth, but at 6 minutes and 35 seconds. Gotti fifth at 6:54, and a lot of top men still have not come in. We haven't seen Berzin in yet a while, and the clock here on the finishing line is showing that it's been 10 minutes since this man arrived on the line. So there's going to be quite a reshuffling of the overall classification, but Veronk it is that's got the polka dot jersey on his shoulders. But there again, when we look at the point score here today, Zulla will have closed the gap on that one. So although he has got quite a fair amount of points in the bag when he started today, he has become under a lot of pressure from Zulla, and tomorrow there might be a big onslaught from Zulla to go for the polka dot jersey as well as that second spot. Well, that is then, Veronk is still the king of the mountains. Well, tomorrow then we're going from the Aimé La Plagne, just down the bottom of the valley here, to the Alpe d'Huez. There are 3 O category climbs in the whole of the course, which cover 162 kilometres. We're going to be on air very early tomorrow morning, so just check your television reportage times to join Stephen Roche and myself, David Duffield. It's been another cracking day in the Tour de France. Tomorrow will be equally as good. Do join us then for more action on the Tour de France from Eurosport.